Good morning. I'm Hassan Giordano, and this is your DMV Daily Dose for Thursday, October 24th, 2019.
Right now in Baltimore, it's 41 degrees Fahrenheit with clear skies. Today's forecast has lots of sun, with a high of 69 degrees and a low of 41 degrees.
Last night, the Washington Nationals shocked the world and the so-called experts, but not the DC fans, as they jumped out to a quick 2-0 lead over the Houston Astros in the MLB World Series, after Steven Strasburg outdueled Justin Verlander in an epic game. After jumping out to an early 2-0 lead in the first inning last night, the Nationals gave up two to the Astros in the bottom of the frame, and both teams went cold until the seventh inning when the Nationals catcher Kurt Suzuki busted the game open with a home run that led to a 6-run seventh and a Nationals 12-3 victory. Their eighth straight game victory in the postseason after sweeping the Cardinals in the NLCS. The Nats head back home this weekend, starting Friday night, to try and sweep the 2017 World Series champion Astros as the nation's capital hosts their first World Series game since 1933. Jessica Anderson of the Baltimore Sun is reporting on Baltimore Police Commissioner Michael Harrison's new policy declaring that injured officers on restricted duty could no longer receive overtime pay, which got an immediate reaction, he says. 25 injured officers suddenly declared they were healthy enough to return to full duty. Go figure. On October 13th, the department introduced rules that, among other things, banned officers on limited duty from working extra hours and collecting overtime while recovering. The new Administrative Duties Division includes about 100 officers who are on limited and medical duty, putting them all into one unit to help the department better track their status and their overtime. A move similar to what Commissioner Harris did as commissioner of the New Orleans Police Department as well. The new unit comes after Harrison announced in June a broader crackdown on overtime, limiting officers to 32 hours of overtime per week. The department has long struggled to contain overtime spending, especially as its roster has dwindled in recent years while violent crime remains stubbornly high. Overtime costs have doubled in 5 years to nearly $50 million for a department of about 2,300 sworn officers. Each year, Baltimore police officers have regularly been among the city's top earners thanks to overtime pay. The Baltimore Brew is reporting that Baltimore Spending Board postponed action yesterday on a $5.4 million extension of a contract to provide support services for customer water billing, acting at the request of Councilman Bill Henry, a candidate for comptroller in next year's city election, who called the increase problematic. The Board of Estimates had been scheduled to vote on the latest slug of money for Atlanta-based Itineraries North America, which has enlisted as a part of the Department of Public Works switchover to a UMAX water billing system. The initial contract for $8.4 million was approved by the board in October 2014. Its purpose was to assist DPW staff in customer operations, dispute resolution, quality assurance, user acceptance testing, and other back-office operations. But since then, the contract has steadily ballooned, nearly tripling to $22.1 million to date, and was set to grow to $27.6 million upon yesterday's board approval. However, both mayoral candidates, Mayor Bernard Jack Young and Council President Brandon Scott, who Henry wrote the letter to asking for this delay, decided to defer voting on the contract without comment. Now, Henry called for a pause to take a closer look at the agreement. Quote, this contract increase would now put us nearly $19 million over the initial contract, Henry said in a letter sent to Council President Scott. I believe that the Board of Estimates should have as much information as possible before they decide if the city can and should support this contract extension. Henry noted that a financial audit of the Department of Public Works was due to be publicly released last week, but did not appear on last week's or yesterday's board agenda. Until it is presented to the board and the city council, Henry said that the city should delay the vote on the contract renewal. Now, Maryland Matters is reporting on a redistricting process that could get ugly during the upcoming 2020 election year. Josh Kurtz reported that state election officials testified in Annapolis that Maryland's June primary in a gubernatorial election year will prove especially problematic in 2022 because that's also the year that state lawmakers and the governor will draw new congressional and legislative district boundaries. The late June 2020 primary will require late February filing dates for candidates running for office, meaning the deadline will likely come before the legislature and the governor sign off on new maps, and certainly before any legal challenges to the district lines are resolved. It's going to be ugly, said Maryland Elections Administrator Linda Lamone told the Senate Education, Health, and Environmental Affairs Committee during an Annapolis briefing. At best, redistricting is messy and overtly political. But even though 2020 will be the third straight gubernatorial election in Maryland with a primary held in June, having previously been held in September for decades, this will be the first to be held in the immediate aftermath of the redistricting process. The last time legislative congressional district lines were changed following the U.S. Census in 2012, the state had 2 full years before the next gubernatorial election. Now, election officials will not have that luxury after the 2020 census results are released in 2021. Now, under state law, a candidate for a legislative seat must live in the district where he or she plans to run a minimum of 6 months before a general election. So candidates can file to run for state Senate or House seats by the late February deadline, even if they don't live within the district, or if the district boundaries have yet to be determined. But if and when the lines are finalized, a candidate finds themselves living outside the district where they're running, they must move into the district by early May to remain on the ballot. If that does not happen, that candidate will be removed from the ballot. I'm your man, Mr. Politics, and this has been your Daily Dose for Thursday, October 24th, 2019. For all your daily doses and more on the articles that I have covered, just go over to www.DMVDailyNews.